So we're actually going to start with the lateral area because that's part of the surface area. So some definitions you'll see here are the lateral faces, lateral edges, base edges, altitude, and height. So if you look over here at this prism, the bases are just the top and the bottom. There are two bases in all of these prisms. And then for faces, that would be everything going around the edge. So this happens to be a hexagonal prism. So a hexagon is the shape of the base. So it's going to have 6 lateral faces. And then you'll notice I've kind of labeled where that lateral edge is versus the base edge. If it's only touching faces, it's a lateral edge. If it's touching the base, it's a base edge. And then one thing I just wanted to show you on this one is that I put a right angle to show you that this is a right prism. If it was angled, if it didn't have this right angle, then it would be an oblique prism. It's just at a slant, which just changes slightly how you would solve. So we're going to be solving for lateral area first, which is just the sum of the areas of the lateral faces. So you just find the perimeter and multiply it by the height, and that's how you'd have the lateral area. Okay, so for our first example, we're finding lateral area. We're told that the length of each side of the base of a regular octagonal prism is 6 inches. So that means that the base would look like an octagon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And all of these are 6 inches. So our perimeter then is adding 6 to itself 8 times, or you could say 6 times 8. So perimeter is 6 times 8, which is 48 inches. And then we're told that the height is 11 inches. So the lateral area equals 48 times 11. And 48 times 11 is 528. Since this is an area still, lateral area, our units will be squared. So our answer is 528 inches squared. And that's how you find the lateral area, perimeter times the height. Next, we're going to find the surface area. And so one thing I want to tell you, I normally do LA, not just L, so I did correct that. But surface area is just a lateral area plus 2 times area of the base. And the reason that is because with a prism, you have 2 bases. So we just take the lateral, that's all the edges we just found, and then you have to add in the top base and the bottom base. So that would be the surface area. The idea between lateral area and surface area, let me just help you kind of maybe understand. If you were to hold a can of soup, the label only covers the round edge of the soup, right? The outside. So for the label, we would need to know the lateral area to know how much paper needed to make that label. Where maybe with, I guess, cans where they're made out of aluminum, they would need to know also the top and the bottom so that you can close in that soup in that can. So to figure out how much metal you would need, you need the surface area. So that's the difference between the two, just to make sure everybody understands kind of why we have to find them separately. Okay, so now we're going to find the surface area, and we have this triangular prism. Again, we know it's a triangular prism because it has 2 triangle bases, and then there'd be 3 faces that are connecting those 2 triangles. So since the base is a triangle, to find lateral area, the perimeter of a triangle, we would have 12 and 12, so we need to find this length right here. Well, this is a right triangle, so you would say 12 squared plus 12 squared equals c squared. 12 squared is 144. 144 plus 144 should be 288. And then we're going to take the square root and let's just round that to 17 just to make it nice and easy for our work. If you want to do 16.97, you can, but even if you wanted to round to 1 decimal place, it'd be 17.0. So this length right there is 17 millimeters. So now we have what we need. So to find the perimeter again, we have 12 plus 12 plus 17, which was that 41? Yep, 41. And then the height is what connects them, right? That's the height connecting the bases, so that's 8. So for lateral area, we take perimeter 41 times the height of 8. So 41 times 8 is 328. Again, units would be millimeters squared. If you were asked to find lateral area, we've already gotten the answer. So next is surface area, because we're actually asked to find. So we got to add 2 times the area of the base. We got to find the area of the base first. So area of the base. So the base is a triangle. Triangle's area is base times height divided by 2. So 12 times 12 divided by 2 144 divided by 2 is 72. Now, 2 areas would just be 2 times 72, which is 144. Again, it's area, so that would be millimeters squared. So basically now we're adding lateral area plus 2 areas of the base to get our surface area. So 144 plus 328 is 472. So our surface area is 472 millimeters squared. Again, it's area still, surface area, so our units are still squared. Now, on this one, we were asked to round to the nearest tenth, so you could put 0.0, or that is because if you would have chosen to leave this as a decimal, you might have ended up with some decimals going on there. But just so you know, it is okay to have 0.0 rounded to the nearest tenth. I should have done that just to make sure I was following the directions. But if you didn't round this quite the same as I did, then you might have a little bit off. It would be very close though, maybe 471 point something. So next we're also going to be talking about a cylinder, but still the same idea of lateral area and surface area. And you really could use the same formulas from the front, but since circles always have the same formula for their base, you can also have these. So for lateral area, you could have 2 pi r h, which again, 2 pi r, that is circumference, which is the same thing as perimeter times the height. And then for surface area, you'd have that lateral area plus 2 area of the bases. Then the area of a circle is pi r squared. So that's how these formulas are made, but you really could use the formulas from the front. Again, just to make sure we're being clear between a right cylinder versus an oblique cylinder, right cylinder has a right angle, oblique will be slanted. What is different about it, the axis is the segment with the endpoints that are centers of the circular bases. So this right here is the axis. If it was slanted, it would no longer be the same thing as the height. So that's why we use H here, not the axis, because if it's oblique, the axis is not always the height. So I want to make sure you understood why it was an H here and not using axis. So just to be clear. Okay, so for our example here, to find lateral area and surface area, we're given the radius and the height, which is actually all you need. One thing to point out is if you're given the diameter, just cut it in half, you have what you need for the radius. But we already have the radius here. So for lateral area, it's 2 pi r h. So 2 pi r is 5, h is 9. And I'm just going to let my calculator do that for me. So 2 pi 5, 9. And let's round to 1 decimal place, so 282.7. So the lateral area is 282.7 inches squared. So that's our first answer. For surface area, we have 2 pi r h. Well, we already have that answer, so we might as well just carry it with us. 282.7 inches squared plus 2 pi r is 5 squared. So I'm going to let that just carry along. And then we'll do 2 pi 5 squared. So 2 pi 5 squared, and we get 157.1. And then we're going to add those together. So 282.7 plus 157.1, and we get 439.8. Again, our units are inches squared because area has square units. So that's our two answers. Lateral area is 282.7 inches squared. Surface area is 439.8 inches squared. Okay, so for this last example, we're actually going to work backwards to find something that's missing. So we're asked to find the diameter of the base of a cylinder if the surface area is 464 pi centimeters squared and the height is 21 centimeters. So surface area is 464 pi equals 2 pi r, h is 21, plus 2 pi r squared. So let's see, both of these have 2 pi. So let's just divide everything by 2 pi. That's what they have in common. I can't just pick something that they don't have. So 2 pi, 2 pi. And if I divided, those pi's would cancel. So divide 464 by 2, which should be what, 232? Yep, so 232 equals 21r plus r squared. Well, this now is a polynomial. So I'm going to kind of just rearrange it 0 equals, I like to have my r squared first plus 21r. Just switch those places, and then we got to subtract 232. And then we need to figure out, well, what multiplies to get negative 232 that adds up to 21. Okay, so I've done some multiplication here just to figure it out. And you could do 8 times 29 to get 232. So if I need 21, I could do 29, and I could do negative 8. Again, 29 minus 8 is 21. 21 times negative 8 is, 29, sorry, times negative 8 is negative 232. So then you'd solve for both. So r plus 29 equals 0, r equals negative 29. You can't have a negative radius. And then r minus 8 equals 0, so r equals 8. So the radius should be 8. We're asked for the diameter. So diameter is 2 times radius, which is 2 times 8. So the diameter should be 16, and our units were centimeters. So that would be our answer. So this is just a fun one to work backwards and kind of find the missing piece of the puzzle. But again, you would just kind of work your way using one of the formulas that you needed based on what they told you. Cancel what you can. Again, only cancel if every single part has that. So 2 pi is what they have in common. They also have at least 1 r in common if you knew the radius. But yeah, that's how you do it. So diameter is 16 centimeters.